The day the earthquake hit Lakeside City, my husband abandoned me, flying to another city to find his Moonlight Girl. I was trapped in the ruins. I texted him, Andrew, there's been an earthquake. I'm buried underground, it's so dark, and I'm so scared. After I was rescued, I sent him 2 final texts and tossed my phone into the debris. Andrew, I can't hold on anymore. It's a good thing you had work to get to. Otherwise, you and the baby would have died here with me. It's really great that you're safe. I did that on purpose. I deliberately wanted him to think I was dead. I deliberately wanted him to live in perpetual remorse for me and our unborn child. I wanted him to weep bitter tears and regret everything. When I couldn't keep the charade going anymore, I planned to walk right up to him and tell him I want a divorce. In the 2nd year of my marriage to Andrew, his Moonlight Girl came back from overseas. I went with him to the airport to pick her up. I watched, firsthand, as the slender girl with long black hair and a white dress tearfully flew into his arms, like a migratory bird returning to its nest. Andrew, I finally see you again. Andrew stiffened for a moment, then reached out and gently stroked her head. There. It's okay now. I stood right beside them, feeling like a redundant third wheel. After hesitating for a bit, I stepped forward and took Andrew's hand, forcing a smile. All right, since we've picked her up, let's go home. It was then she looked up, as if she was just seeing me, and pulled away from Andrew's embrace. She was smiling, yet her face held a hint of surprise and awkwardness. Andrew Gidge, older brother, you got married? Andrew answered softly. The 3 of us went home together in an awkward silence. Of course, maybe I was the only one who felt awkward. Lola is Andrew's Moonlight Girl, and also his stepsister, from a different father and mother. I always knew there was a Moonlight Girl in Andrew's heart, but I only learned all the details after we got married. Andrew's family background is somewhat complicated. He's an orphan. His birth parents died in a car crash when he was 9. Afterward, a friend of his father's, Lola's father, seeing the young Andrew had no one to raise him, adopted him. This is where the story of Andrew and Lola finally began. Andrew was a solitary child from the start. He was quiet, reserved, and his childhood experience gave him an air of being unapproachable. Lola, on the other hand, had a privileged, happy life. She was innocent and carefree, like a little sun that slowly warmed Andrew and brought him the warmth of a family. Of course, Andrew never told me about his relationship with Lola. This was all my own imagination. But when I led Lola into the home Andrew and I had shared for 3 years, and watched her curiously look around, touching this and that, I knew my guess was probably right. That evening, as I was cooking, Andrew came back with some taro and asked me to make taro and spare ribs. He said, taro and spare ribs are Lola's favorite. I lowered my eyes, unable to speak for a moment. Andrew has never been a particularly attentive person. I've known him for 8 years, I pursued him for 5, and we've lived together for 3, but even so, he sometimes forgets my preferences. He doesn't even remember that I'm allergic to taro. Yet, he clearly remembers Lola's favorite dish. Even though she's been abroad for 6 years. I pursed my lips and asked, Andrew, did you forget? I'm allergic to taro. I break out in hives just from touching it. He seemed stunned, then smiled and ushered me out of the kitchen. I'm sorry, Jasmine. I didn't know you were allergic to taro. We've never had taro on our dinner table. Could you go sit down for a while? I'll make dinner tonight. Actually, Andrew and I did have taro once, 3 years ago, right after I had finally won him over. I was walking on air that day. At lunch, he ordered a dish called taro and chicken, and I ate a piece without even looking. He was the one who took me to the hospital that time. But it was so long ago. He probably forgot. I nodded silently, not saying a word. Lola was still sitting in the living room, and I didn't want to make the atmosphere any more strained. During dinner, perhaps because of the earlier incident, Andrew frequently put food on my plate. The shrimp is really good today. I slowly ate it, and when I looked up, I saw Lola also putting a piece of shrimp on my plate. She looked at Andrew, then at me, her smile gentle and her actions natural. Yes, Gidge, older sister, you should eat more shrimp. Gidge makes the best shrimp. It felt like I was the guest in my own home. Lola stayed at our place. Andrew was the one who suggested she move in. 3 days ago, Andrew suddenly told me his sister from overseas was coming home. He said she hadn't been doing well these past few years. She was alone abroad, betrayed by her boyfriend, and diagnosed with depression. As he spoke, his lips were tightly pressed, his eyes dark and tinged with a weariness that made my heart ache a little. So, when he said, "She's coming back alone. She doesn't want to go home or let her parents know, and she wants to stay here for a while," I agreed without hesitation. I didn't know then that his so-called sister was the Moonlight Girl he'd thought about for all those years. It wasn't until I saw Lola's face at the airport that I suddenly realized I had seen her photo before. It was tucked in Andrew's bookcase, on page 75 of Glass Snow. She was the unforgettable Moonlight Girl hidden deep in Andrew's heart for years. That night, thinking about Andrew and Lola, I couldn't fall asleep. Andrew held me from behind, his warm breath on my ear. "Can't sleep?" I nodded, and then heard a crash. I walked out of the room. Lola was standing in the living room, surrounded by ceramic shards, crying softly and trembling slightly. What was broken on the floor was the ceramic figurine Andrew and I made together. We made it at a pottery studio the day we officially became a couple. I made one of him, and he made one of me. That's how we naturally started dating. I've always considered it our token of love. I even carved Andrew and Jasmine forever on the base of the doll. But now, it was shattered. I frowned, looking at the ceramic fragments all over the floor. Andrew's gaze, however, was fixed on Lola. Lola cries beautifully. When she cries, her eyelids are slightly red, her face streaked with tears. Anyone who sees her can't bear to scold her. "It's just a ceramic figurine, it's nothing. Please stop crying." He sighed, then pulled her to sit on the sofa, frowning. "Why are you so clumsy? You've cut your foot." He left me alone to clean up the ceramic shards on the floor like some old housekeeper. Lola sat on the sofa, furrowing her brow, teary-eyed, looking helpless and utterly pitiful. "Gia. I didn't mean to. I was just. I just couldn't sleep and wanted to walk around. I saw the cute figurine, and I wanted to pick it up and look at it, but my hand slipped. Gia, I'm so sorry." Her hand was still shaking as she spoke, and before she could finish, she started crying again, as if something sad had just occurred to her. Seeing this, I said nothing. I walked out to the balcony and pulled out a cigarette. Lola always calls me Gia. When Andrew was cooking, and she and I were sitting in the living room, she kept calling me Gia while asking me about every little detail of my life with Andrew over the years. I corrected her, "I'm married to your Andrew Gidge. You should call me Saucy, sister-in-law." She didn't respond. Instead, she picked up a cat cushion on the sofa and smiled at me with a look of surprise. "Oh, Gia, look at this. I gave this to Andrew Gidge before I left the country. I can't believe he still has it." I frowned immediately, and my stomach started to churn. I held the cigarette, twisting it in my fingers, but I didn't light it. Andrew doesn't like women who smoke. The type he's always liked is someone like Lola, black hair, a white dress, clean, and delicate. Perhaps I stood on the balcony for too long. Andrew came over and took the cigarette from my hand. "Don't smoke. It's bad for you." I hadn't planned to smoke anyway. "I'm pregnant, so I can't." "He just doesn't know yet." I hadn't had a chance to tell him. "Where is your sister?" I asked him. He gestured toward the room. "She went to sleep." I paused, then continued. "Don't you need to keep her company?" "What?" He looked stunned. I smiled and asked him how long Lola planned to stay with us. I looked at him, being honest for once. "Andrew, I don't like your sister. Do you know? Back when I was chasing you, there was a time you were drunk. You hugged me and kept calling out Lola. I didn't know who you were calling back then, but now, do you really just see her as a sister? Andrew, tell her to move out. Either she leaves, or I do. You have to choose." Andrew looked at me for a long time, his expression complicated, and then he let out a long sigh. "Jasmine, what just happened? Lola didn't mean it. She has depression. Her emotions are a bit unstable. Can you try to be understanding? I know this is unfair to you, but Lola's parents, and Lola herself, were good to me. I didn't bring her here for any other reason. The past is over. Now, I genuinely only see her as my sister. I have you, don't I?" Andrew asked me to trust him. I looked at him and recalled many things. Andrew and I met in high school. He was good-looking and had excellent grades, yet he wasn't very popular. The reason? He was too isolated. He used to sit in the very last row of the classroom, against the wall. It was the dimmest spot in the entire room. When he sat there, the spot seemed to grow even darker, as if no light could reach it. But I liked him a lot. I thought he was very much like me. Andrew was a transfer student who showed up in my class. It was senior year, a crucial year, so not many students transferred schools, but he did. And in that year, I never saw his parents. Of course, I never saw mine either. My parents divorced when I was very young, and neither of them wanted me. They went to court, and the judge eventually awarded custody to my father. Shortly after their divorce, they both started new families, and I became the odd one out. I guessed Andrew's family situation was similar to mine. Or maybe even a bit worse. After all, even though my father ignored me, he wasn't stingy with money. Andrew, on the other hand, often worked part-time at a bubble tea shop outside of school, even with the heavy workload of senior year. I felt a little protective of him. Moreover, I knew Andrew was actually a very gentle person. Although he looked cold, there was one time I was crying secretly in the garden behind the school library after an argument with my father. He walked past me, didn't say anything, but quietly put a pack of tissues next to me. I remember it was dusk. The breeze was warm, and the golden sunset fell on him, making even his hair shine. I think that was the moment I fell in love with him. Later, I got into the same university as him. I started pursuing him. I began doing everything I could to be good to him. Throughout college, Andrew rarely went home. Even during holidays, winter, and summer breaks, he stayed alone at the school. I stubbornly stayed by his side, insisting on spending the holidays with him. I celebrated one New Year and one birthday after another with him. He liked girls with long hair and white dresses, so I grew out my years-long short hair and started wearing the kind of dresses he liked. He liked home-cooked meals, saying they tasted like home, so I taught myself to cook and made them for him with my own hands. I did so many things for him. But as I kept doing them, I realized many of those things had already been done for him by another girl. There were too many traces of someone else in his life. But it didn't matter. I never got discouraged. If someone had done it, I would do it better, even better, until no one could ever do it better than me. In my whole life, growing up, no one had ever been good to me. So I desperately tried to be good to him. I chased him for 5 years, and finally, my perseverance paid off. But now, that girl was back. Even if you can promise me you only see her as a sister, what about Lola? Can you guarantee she doesn't have other feelings for you? This time, he was silent for a long time. After a long pause, he finally said, she wouldn't. That's all in the past. Andrew assured me. He said that no matter what, he only saw Lola as his sister. He told me he was already looking for an apartment for Lola, and in a few days, once she stabilized emotionally and he found a suitable place, he would have her move out. And I simply couldn't let go of him, couldn't let go of our 8 years together. I decided to trust him one more time. For the sake of our 8 years. And for the sake of the unborn child in my belly. I instinctively touched my lower abdomen, then quickly dropped my hand. Andrew, those were your words. Don't lie to me. If you lie to me, I promise you, you will regret it. The day Lola moved out was an overcast day. Andrew and I helped her move into her new place. She had a lot of things, and it took nearly 4 hours just to clean and unpack. By the time we got back, it was raining outside. As soon as we got home, he got a call from her. I don't know what Lola said on the other end. I clearly saw Andrew pause, then agree to something. He hung up, walked into the room she had been staying in, looked around, grabbed an umbrella, and rushed out the door. She forgot something important. I'm going to take it over to her. It was pouring rain outside. Does it have to be right now? The thing she forgot is important. She needs it right now. I nodded. Then I'll go with you. He finally looked at me, smiled, pulled me into a hug, and kissed my cheek. You don't have to go. The rain is too heavy. Don't worry, I'll be right back after I drop this off. I didn't insist. I did want to go with him. But I'm pregnant now, and I can't be so reckless. I sat on the sofa for a long time, slowly pouring myself a cup of hot water. By the time the water had slowly cooled down, Andrew still hadn't returned. I only received a text from him, Jasmine, the rain is really heavy right now. I'm going to stay here for a bit until it lightens up. I'll bring you back your favorite donuts when I return. I stared at the message for a while, replied okay, and then stood up. Lola's door wasn't fully closed. She'd left a sliver of a gap, through which I could vaguely see the warm light inside. But I didn't have the courage to push it open. The hallway was dim. Through the door, I could hear soft weeping. Lola was crying. I heard her tearful voice. Andrew Gidge, I miss you so much. I thought about you every day and every night during all those years abroad, didn't you miss me? My hand, resting on the doorknob, suddenly started trembling. Lola, you're drunk. Let go of me. Don't be ridiculous. Then came the sound of a bottle falling to the floor. Andrew seemed to have pushed her away. I'm not being ridiculous. You were the one who said you liked me first. You were the one who said you wanted to be together forever and ever. You still like me, don't you? You must still like me. I asked Jasmine, you two got together on June 10th, 2019. That day, you found out from my dad that I was dating someone else. You only agreed to be with her because you were mad at me for being with someone else, right? Answer me. It took a long time for his tired answer to come, so what if I was? That's all in the past now. My heart plummeted to my stomach. I was completely frozen in place, my body cold, but my heart was pounding so hard it felt like it would jump out of my throat. Then, all the sounds in the room vanished, leaving only a low groan. That kind of groan was all too familiar. Back in the day, I loved to hook my arms around Andrew's neck and kiss him while he was reading. That's the sound he would make. They were kissing. To be precise, Lola had kissed him. What was Andrew doing? What was his expression? Instinctively, I pushed the door open just a crack. In the rush of warm light, I clearly saw the shock on Andrew's face, but in the next instant, he slowly closed his eyes. They were embracing and kissing in the warm light. I couldn't take it anymore. I covered my mouth and ran wildly. Perhaps hearing the noise, the two in the room broke apart. Andrew chased after me. Jasmine. Jasmine, listen to me. Things aren't what you think. Back at home, Andrew tried to explain to me again and again. And me, I locked the bedroom door and threw up until I was dizzy and sick. He kept explaining from outside. He said he stayed there because Lola was drunk and emotionally unstable. He said everything was a misunderstanding, all because Lola was drunk. The thing he said to her was a mistake, he just didn't want her to keep pestering him. The kiss too. Finally, he said, Jasmine, that's all in the past. I have you now. As for Lola, I really only see her as a sister. That night, I slept alone. I tossed and turned, thinking all night. Early the next morning, I left the room and saw Andrew standing right outside the door. He seemed to have been awake all night, the dark circles under his eyes were noticeable. His chin was stubbled, and his expression was hesitant and cautious. He looked at me nervously, like a little dog afraid of its owner's anger. I thought for a moment and offered him a smile. I'm hungry. I want the porridge you cook. Will you make me some? Andrew looked stunned when he heard me, then quickly smiled back. He thought I had come to my senses and forgiven him. But I hadn't. I had simply given up. I thought about a lot of things that night. I've never been the type of person who only remembers the bad things others do. On the contrary, perhaps because life was so hard. I've always been good at remembering the good things people did for me. Because of this, whenever I think of Andrew, I remember him sitting by my bedside when I had a fever, using a wet towel to bring down my temperature late at night. I remember the day he proposed, hugging and kissing me under the vast starry sky on the beach. I remember one time, on the anniversary of his parents' death, he held me and whispered hoarsely, Jasmine, I only have you. You can never leave me. But then, I remember other things too. I remember these past few days, his constant wavering between me and Lola. I remember he forgot what I was allergic to, yet clearly remembered all of her preferences. I remember he said he loved me, but his eyes were fixed on her. I remember that my 8 years of dedication bought me nothing but a false heart. I was exhausted. I was so tired. But I was also so resentful. I resented that I had given so much and received nothing in return. I resented that the moment I left, they would be free to live happily ever after. We already had a child, we were so close to happiness. I closed my eyes heavily. Even if I left, I would ensure that Andrew could never be with Lola without a lingering sense of guilt. For the next few days, Andrew was exceptionally good to me. His attitude could even be described as overly cautious. He went out of his way to buy me the cake I liked, bought me the latest designer bags as compensation, and kissed my cheek every morning before leaving. He started keeping regular work hours, spending more time by my side. However, I also saw on Lola's social media that he was buying her medicine, cooking for her, and celebrating her birthday. Her last post was a side-by-side comparison. One photo showed her and him from many years ago, their faces young and their smiles genuine and bright. The other was a selfie. In the photo, Lola was holding a bouquet of roses, smiling sweetly, while a man in an apron was busy in the kitchen behind her. The caption read, "Time flies, but we are just as we used to be." Anyone who saw that post in caption would assume they were a newlywed couple deeply in love. I looked at it, and then I liked it. A little later, I received a call from Andrew. "Jasmine, are you off work? I'll pick you up for dinner." "Sure. Let's go have some Western food." I replied happily, though what I was really thinking was that he was so busy. Busy taking care of me, and busy accompanying her. He couldn't let go of me, and he couldn't abandon her. I pretended to be completely unaware and began playing the role of a loving wife who trusted him wholeheartedly. One night, I even heard Lola call him, and I only asked a simple question. "Is that Lola?" He was lying next to me. He answered the phone, still a bit groggy, but he had already sat up. "Yes, it is. She has a cold and a headache," he answered instinctively, then realized what he said and froze. "Jasmine, I smiled and said, "Oh. Well, go check on her, but remember to come back soon." Andrew didn't leave that night. He said she had medicine at home, and he already told her to take it, assuring me she would be fine after sleeping. He finished speaking, then turned to look at me. His expression, how should I put it, was one of disbelief mixed with hesitation. He deliberated for a long time, finally spitting out a single word, "Why?" "Why what?" I played dumb. "It's the middle of the night. You're letting me go bring medicine to another woman?" Oh, so he knew it was wrong. I smiled, my voice soft. "She's still your sister, isn't she?" "Andrew, I've thought it over. I should trust you. People have to move forward, don't they? Let the past stay in the past." That night, Andrew and I talked a lot. I've never been someone who likes to flirt or show weakness. I always prefer to be strong. But that night, I acted like Lola, learning to show him my vulnerability, intentionally revealing my pain, putting on a fragile appearance, and then telling him, "Andrew, I only have you. If I can't trust you, who can I trust? You promised me you would be good to me forever. You won't betray my trust, will you?" I knew his nature. I knew that doing this would make him feel sorry for me and guilty. A man's guilt is always more reliable than love. But this wasn't enough. Far from it. I slowly placed my hand on my lower abdomen, a twisted sense of pleasure rising in my heart. There was pleasure, but even more, there was pain. How much I had longed for this child. Andrew and I both loved children. Perhaps because of our broken families, we deeply wished to have a child of our own blood. Soon after we got married, we even had a false alarm. Because of an incorrect pregnancy test, I thought I was pregnant. When I told him the news, I will never forget his reaction. He looked stunned, as if struck by a massive, pleasant surprise, and it took him a while to recover. His eyes were sparkling. He was not usually an emotional person, but at that moment, the smile on his lips couldn't be contained. He excitedly picked me up, then carefully and quickly put me down, his face full of regret and worry. He was afraid. Afraid that his actions might hurt me and the baby in my belly. This time, when I found out I was really pregnant, I was overjoyed and couldn't wait to tell him the news. But for some reason, that night, seeing his distracted expression, I held back my words. And now, as I touched my belly, I wondered if Andrew knew I was carrying a child. If he knew he was responsible for the death of this child. And what if this child was accidentally lost because of him and Lola? How would he react? I must have been crazy. I was acting like a villain in a TV show, using my child as leverage. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. He loved children so much. He had so eagerly anticipated having a child with me. We had even picked out names. If that happened, he surely wouldn't be able to be with Lola without reservation, right? Our 2-year wedding anniversary was 10 days away. Andrew took me to Lakeside City for a trip to celebrate. For some reason, I started feeling unwell as soon as we arrived in Lakeside City. This baby had been so cooperative, I hadn't felt sick at all since I got pregnant. That night, I lay in bed with my eyes closed, unable to sleep. Andrew was lying beside me, sleeping soundly. The night was heavy and silent. The darkness magnified everything. I heard my phone vibrate. It was Lola. Lola again. Andrew answered, said a few words, and hung up. The vibrating sound started again, over and over. I heard Lola's crying voice on the other end. Andrew Gidge, can you please come see me? I feel terrible all over. I feel like I'm going to die. Nobody loves me. You don't want me either, do you? I'm standing on the rooftop right now. The wind is so strong, and it's so dark. Can you please come see me? Finally, Andrew rubbed his temples and let out a soft sigh. I remained in bed, pretending to be asleep, until he woke me up. He kissed my cheek. Jasmine, something came up at the office. I have to go back for a bit, but I'll be back tomorrow morning. Based on the gentle, virtuous persona I'd been maintaining, the one who never complained and trusted him implicitly, I should have obediently nodded and said yes. But for some reason, my heart was pounding. I pretended to wake up from a nightmare and wrapped my arms around his waist. I even squeezed out a few tears. Andrew, please don't go. I just had a terrible dream. Don't leave me here alone, but Andrew still left. He stroked my head and told me to be a good girl and wait for him to return. I didn't wait for him. At 2 a.m., a major earthquake struck Lakeside City. Buildings collapsed. I was buried in the ruins. What is it like to be trapped in rubble? Darkness. Boundless darkness. The air is limited, the space is limited, but the darkness is infinite. Infinite darkness magnifies every weakness and every dark thought within you. I thought I had completely given up on Andrew, completely lost hope. I thought I was invincible. But I wasn't. When I was trapped, unable to move, I realized I was still weak. In the dark, I texted Andrew, Andrew, there's been an earthquake. I'm buried underground, it's so dark, and I'm so scared, am I going to die? I don't want to die. In the span of 4 short hours, I sent him many texts, moving from initial fear to numbness, and finally to deep-seated hatred. During those 4 hours, I even received messages from friends checking on me, but Andrew never replied. I couldn't help but wonder what he was doing during this time. While I was buried in the rubble, was he at Lola's place? Or perhaps in her bed, holding her and speaking gently to her? The thought made me tremble uncontrollably. I was trapped in the ruins for 10 hours. When I was finally rescued, a new idea suddenly struck me. I sent him the last 2 texts with trembling hands, then smashed my phone in the debris. Andrew, I can't hold on anymore. It's a good thing you had work to get to. Otherwise, you and the baby would have died here with me. It's really great that you're safe. I did that on purpose. I wanted him to think I had died in the ruins. I wanted him to feel guilty and regretful for me. I wanted him to remember that he was the one who suggested and insisted on bringing me to Lakeside City. That he, for the sake of his Moonlight Girl, left me alone here, allowing me and my child to die in a foreign place. And I, utterly consumed by him, was worried about him and felt lucky for him even in my last moments. I wanted him to wake up in the middle of the night, haunted by my shadow. I wanted him to be consumed by guilt every night, unable to sleep. When Andrew received those texts, it was already broad daylight. The night before, when he found Lola, she was standing on the building's rooftop, her body swaying precariously in the wind. She turned, looked at him, and gave him a fragile smile. She said, Andrew Gidge, you came back. I knew you still cared about me. For some reason, looking at the scene, a flash of exhaustion crossed his mind. Of course, the feeling of pity was stronger. That night, Lola held him, repeating her sadness over and over. With things having come to this point, he couldn't quite figure out his own feelings. Did he still love Lola? It seemed like he didn't love her as much anymore. He knew the person he loved was Jasmine. 8 years of companionship had made her not just a lover, but family. Although it was true she had pursued him first, and she had loved him first. But over those 8 years, he had long become inseparable from her. As for Lola, he just couldn't shake the feeling of unfinished business. He just felt sorry for her. This was the woman he loved in his youth, the one he couldn't forget, the one who was just out of reach. Everyone opposed them back then. And now. He knew he should push her away. But he didn't. He simply stroked her head and told her to stop overthinking. Did you take your medicine today? Are you still feeling unwell anywhere else? I'll take you to the doctor. He told himself, it's okay. He was just taking care of a patient. He was just taking care of his sister. It's okay. Jasmine didn't know anything. Jasmine loved him so much. Just this once. The last time. In the early morning, he woke up to bright daylight. The alarm clock roused him, and he instinctively reached for his phone, only to find that his reserved flight had been cancelled. Then came a relentless barrage of news alerts. Finally, he saw Jasmine's texts. One after another. She said there was an earthquake, that she was buried underground, that it was dark, and she was scared. In an instant, he felt like he had plunged into an ice cellar, and the hand holding his phone began to tremble. He told himself, it's impossible, impossible. None of this is real. But the overwhelming app notifications clearly confirmed that it was all true. He frantically called Jasmine, but the call never connected. He texted her, but again, there was no reply. He started to panic. Fear swept over him like a hurricane. Perhaps his complexion was too awful, because Lola walked up to him and asked, Andrew Gidge, what's wrong? He looked at her face, which was exactly the same as always, and suddenly thought about last night. Last night, 2 a.m. When Jasmine was buried beneath the rubble, what was he doing? His face darkened instantly. He grabbed his coat from the sofa in a rush and headed out. Andrew Gidge, where are you going? He might have heard Lola's voice, or maybe he didn't. He just walked straight ahead, stumbling. He didn't know where he was going. Where could he go? All flights to Lakeside City were cancelled, and the roads had collapsed. He couldn't go to Lakeside City, he couldn't get to her side, he couldn't go anywhere. Andrew eventually returned home. Back to the home he had shared with Jasmine for 3 years. He stared blankly at his phone, constantly refreshing, hoping for a message from Jasmine. But there was nothing. He waited 5 hours. Finally, he received the texts from Jasmine. 2 very brief messages. Andrew, I can't hold on anymore. It's a good thing you had work to get to. Otherwise, you and the baby would have died here with me. It's really great that you're safe. His heart exploded. The baby. He and Jasmine had a child. He suddenly remembered 2 days ago, Jasmine had a package delivered full of children's clothes and toys. He was confused at the time. He asked her why she bought them. She just smiled and told him a friend of hers was pregnant and she wanted to buy her a gift. At that time, he had hugged her and asked full of anticipation, Jasmine, when can we have our own baby? And she had smiled shyly. She looked at him and asked very seriously, Andrew, if we have a child, will you be a good husband and a good father? Of course, I will. I promise I will take good care of you. I'll be better than anyone, I will never make you sad. Memories flooded in. He frantically searched for those items, only to find that the house was filled with Jasmine's presents. On the refrigerator, Jasmine had written out a weekly meal plan in her beautiful handwriting on a small chalkboard. In the closet, all the clothes were neatly organized and well arranged by category. Even in his study, on his desk, there were cards she had written, You've worked for an hour. Time to take a break. Remember to drink water, okay. Why had he never noticed this before? Why had he always taken these things for granted? He searched for a long time. Finally, in the bedroom drawer, he found those things. Besides the baby clothes and toys, he also found a very old, thick sketchbook. He knew Jasmine liked to draw. But he didn't know she had secretly drawn so many portraits of him. Page after page, from their first meeting in high school to getting acquainted, falling in love, and getting married. She had recorded every moment with her pencil. The earliest drawing was very faded, him reading in the classroom in high school. Next to it, she had written in her elegant script, "The person I liked the moment I first saw him." The second drawing was the start of their acquaintance. In the drawing, he quietly handed a packet of tissues to the crying girl in the garden. She wrote, "He really is a very gentle person." The third drawing. He stared at the third drawing for a long time, unable to remember when this was taken. Seeing the caption next to it, he guessed it was drawn when she first spent New Year's Eve with him. She wrote, "It turns out he doesn't have a home to go back to either, just like me. My heart aches for him so much. I'm going to stay by his side every New Year from now on. Even if he doesn't seem to need me there, it's always better to have someone with you during the holidays, right?" He kept flipping through. Finally, he reached the drawings from when they officially started dating. The drawing wasn't of people, it was of the two ceramic figurines they made. She wrote next to it, "Our token of love." Although he never said "I love you," we made ceramic figurines of each other, and he smiled looking at them. I guess that counts as a shared feeling. I will take good care of these two figurines. When we get married and have children, and when we're old and toothless, I'm still going to take these figurines out and show them to our grandchildren and tell them their grandparents' story. His breath hitched when he read that, and he instinctively rushed to the living room to find the ceramic figurines. But when he got to the display shelf, he suddenly remembered that the figurines were already broken. They were already broken. His outstretched hand grasped at empty air. He finally collapsed onto the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. After the earthquake, Lakeside City was sealed off for 7 days. During those days, Andrew did many things. He sent her many texts and made many phone calls. He also filed a police report. He searched for everyone connected to her but still received no news about her. He even went to see her parents, but they didn't even know she had gone to Lakeside City or was in danger there. He refused to believe his Jasmine was dead. Every night, he locked himself in the room. He didn't dare to go anywhere, as every corner of the house reminded him of Jasmine. He saw the painting on the wall and thought of her, saw the ornaments on the table and thought of her, saw the warm yellow cushion on the sofa and thought of her, and saw the flowers by the bed and still thought of her. They had so many memories together. She loved him so much. He loved her too. But why did things end up like this? On the evening of the 6th day, the flowers by the bed, uncared for, had slowly withered. He was the same. He lay in bed, repeatedly flipping through the sketchbook she left behind and the messages she sent him when she was buried underground. He wondered what she must have felt when she was trapped. She loved him so fiercely, passionately, and overwhelmingly. But he had lied to her, and he had left her alone there. Trapped underground, alone, she must have been so scared and hopeless. Yet, she told him, "It's really great that you're safe." He closed his eyes hard, slowly pressing his hand against his neck. It must have been so dark in there. So dark, no light, and the air was limited. What would it feel like when you couldn't breathe? He slowly increased the pressure of his hand. "Isn't it something like this?" He gasped for air like a dying fish, futilely trying to breathe, yet his grip didn't loosen even slightly. However, in the next second, he released the pressure. He couldn't die. He still had to find her. He had to find her. Even if he died, he should die in the same place as her. I saw Andrew again on the 7th day after the earthquake. On the 7th day, the roads were finally cleared, and flights resumed. I hid in a tent and watched him go around, holding my photo and asking people. He had already talked to the official in charge here, but they had no information about me. Why would they have information about me? I didn't want him to find me. After being rescued, I lied and said I didn't have my phone or ID with me. When registering for statistics, I gave my friend's name and ID number. I didn't know how long I could hide from him, but I would hide for as long as possible. I took one last look at his frantic figure, then slowly got into my friend's car. He looked extremely haggard, unshaven, and his hair was unkempt. But what did that have to do with me? These were the consequences he deserved. I stayed at my friend's place for a week, then finally went out. I went to the hospital for an abortion. When Andrew found me, I had already had the procedure and was lying in the hospital bed. He looked at me, his eyes instantly turning red. "Jasmine." I said nothing, silently pulling out the divorce papers I had prepared. "Let's get a divorce." Andrew refused to sign. I only asked him one question, Andrew, on the night of the earthquake, at 2:30 a.m., when I was buried under the rubble, what were you doing? I know everything now. Sign the papers. You simply don't deserve my sincerity. He froze, his face turning paper white in an instant. But he still refused to sign. Perhaps he understood that the love between us was gone, and the child was gone. This flimsy white paper, the two names on the marriage certificate, was the last link between us. He forced a smile, but his body was trembling. Jasmine, let's go home. You just had surgery. Let me take care of you. Mirinda shoved him away. Mirinda is my friend, she picked me up after the earthquake, and I've been staying at her place. Have you no shame? Jasmine has made it perfectly clear. Don't you know what you did? How dare you say, let me take care of you? We don't need your care. I'll take care of Jasmine. He asked again what I needed to forgive him. Jasmine, I know I was wrong. I'll change. Please forgive me. Please give me another chance. A chance? I already gave you one. I did. I asked you, and I trusted you. But what about you? He couldn't speak. He held up that sketchbook. The veins on his hand, gripping the book, were bulging. After struggling for a long time, he managed to stammer out, but Jasmine, you love me. No one would ever love him the way she did. You love me so much. How can you just stop loving me like that? He actually had the audacity to ask such a question. I stared at him, the last flicker of emotion in my heart extinguished. I laughed softly, snatched the sketchbook, and tore it to shreds. Yes, Andrew, I loved you, but that was in the past. I loved you, but who is better to love than you? Every stroke in this book was my sincere heart, and you don't deserve to keep my sincerity. In the following days, Andrew came looking for me every day. He would bring the soup he cooked and knock on Mirinda's door. And Mirinda, she would pour the soup into the trash can right in front of him and then send him away. After a week, Mirinda got fed up. She called the police and had Andrew escorted away. So, Andrew started waiting for me outside the complex gate every day. He waited for me for over half a month. During this time, he abandoned his job and his Moonlight Girl. And I never went down to see him. The day after half a month passed was my birthday. That day, Andrew bought a birthday cake and called me, hoping I would come to see him. Over the phone, he said he would wait for me until I showed up. I said nothing and hung up. I didn't go to see him. That night, it poured rain. Early the next morning, I received a call from Lola. She told me Andrew had a high fever and was currently in the hospital. She begged me to come and see him. I said nothing again and hung up the phone. But I still went to the hospital. The hospital smelled strongly of disinfectant. When Andrew saw me, his eyes instantly lit up. I looked at him, then at Lola, who looked just as haggard and distressed by his side, and slapped both of them across the face. What are you doing? That was Lola. She spoke and tried to push me, but I pushed her to the floor first. I slapped her again and splashed the water from the table onto her face. I stared at her, enunciating every word. What? Do mistresses not deserve to be hit? You should be grateful that I'm too lazy to bother with you right now, or I would have exposed your entire situation to everyone. Don't you have depression? Can't you live without your Andrew Gidge? Now that your Andrew Gidge doesn't want you, why haven't you killed yourself yet, or was your diagnosis report completely fake? Her face went white as I hit a nerve, and she dared not speak. I couldn't be bothered to look at her anymore. While we were arguing, Andrew had been quietly watching me. He seemed to have completely failed to notice that I hit Lola. He didn't say a word. When I turned to look at him, he cautiously tugged at my sleeve, his eyes red, his expression hopeful. Jasmine, I silently pulled my sleeve away, frowning, and articulated every syllable. Andrew, you disgust me. He muttered, I just feel guilty, and I want to make amends. I burst out laughing and threw the divorce papers back in front of him. You want to make amends? This is just self-pity. I've already told you, I never want to see you again in this lifetime, the next, or the one after that. Do you understand? No matter what you do, I will never forgive you. Even if you are lying in the hospital right now, dying, I only feel annoyed. If you really feel guilty, then sign the papers. The light in his eyes finally went out. In the end, Andrew signed the divorce agreement. I moved out of Miranda's house. I changed cities, moved into a new home, and started a new life. I didn't see Andrew again for several years. However, every holiday season, I would receive inexplicable packages containing various pieces of jewelry and luxury goods. I returned them all. One time, I received a pair of ceramic figurines, almost identical to the ones Lola had smashed. I broke those figurines and sent them back. In the third year after the divorce, my career achieved a major breakthrough, and I met someone new. We met through work. Not long after meeting, we found our personalities were extremely compatible, and we naturally started dating. He is a very gentle person, completely different from Andrew. He doesn't have any messy ex-girlfriends or Moonlight Girls. Since we started dating, he constantly talks about me. Everyone around him knows he's completely devoted to his girlfriend. He rarely drinks and consciously maintains distance from female friends. If he has an occasional work engagement, he still goes home on time because my girlfriend keeps a close watch on me. He said, "Jasmine, I am your boyfriend. I have an obligation to keep myself in check and give you enough security." We naturally dated and then married. Soon after we got married, I heard people say Andrew was not doing well. After you two divorced, he was completely lost, numbing himself with alcohol every day, and went to the hospital several times. On your wedding day, he drank until he had a stomach hemorrhage. That Moonlight Girl of his stayed by his side, but unfortunately, Andrew didn't want her company either. I heard she actually has depression now. A few days later, I received a letter. There was no signature. But the moment I saw the handwriting, I knew it was from Andrew. I didn't open it. I ripped it up and threw it directly into the trash can. After all these years, I had a new life and no longer wanted to know what he had to say to me.